T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
So good evening, everyone, and welcome to Candid Conversations with Craig. It is always an honor to have my distinguished guests via Facebook, via my YouTube page. It is also an honor. I got 7 amazing principals from all around the United States. If you saw my Facebook page, you know I called them the 11%. Because when I was doing my research, like Principal Hurt told me to do, because he's a data guy, I was doing my research, and it said only about 11% of the principals in America are African American, and that just blew me away. And so we got an amazing show. I'm not going to take up too much time because I gotta glean from these 11. This 11%, these 7 brothers, and we got to get in their head and have a great conversation. So I'm going to let each one of them introduce themselves, and I'm going to start with Dr. Monty. Sir, tell us a little bit about yourself, brother. Unmute your mic.
Good evening, brothers. I'm Monty Abner from Wilcox County, but I live here in Talladega and work in Jefferson County. This is my 20th year in education. I started off as an English teacher, taught about 9 years at a high school. Then I served 4 years as an assistant principal at a high school and 6 years as a principal at a K-2 school. And I'm in my 2nd year as principal at McAdoo Middle School in Jefferson County. I'm excited to be on the conversation.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. We're going to go with brother, a fellow Alabamian, Principal Dixon.
Yes, sir. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Brother Craig, for putting this cipher together, man. Definitely a dope cipher here tonight with some brilliant brothers on the cipher. I too am reside in Huntsville, Alabama, originally from Phoenix City, Alabama. Graduated from the Alabama A&M University, 4-time graduate of Alabama A&M University. I taught a total of 7 years. I was an assistant principal for a total of 6 years. So I'm now currently my 2nd term of principalship, which I've served at 2 different elementary schools, and this would make my 6th year as an elementary school principal. But just excited, man. A lot of things have inspired me to do what I'm doing now, and I follow each and every one of you brothers, man, and make contact with you one way or the other. And I salute what you're doing. So thank you for the
Thank you. Next time, sir, we don't need you to say the.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Come on, get you some, brother.
Principal Hurt, we're going to give you the floor, sir. Introduce yourself, sir.
All right, my name is Sean Hurt. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. Been in education for about 21 years. Been a principal for 14 years, and I'm just excited. You know, I'm a principal of a school called Inkster Preparatory Academy. But my main focus is changing schools in inner city, just moving that academic needle and working with Black and brown kids from the inner city. That's what I'm passionate about.
We appreciate it, sir. And that's definitely needed. So you right on time. We're going to move over here to I call him the black male, black model, Dr. Jackson. Tell us, sir, a little bit about yourself.
Greetings, everyone. It's actually a pleasure to be here amongst some wonderful brothers, some great educators, and some phenomenal principals. Myself, I've actually been a principal at the elementary, the middle, and high school level. Currently, right now, I support 14 principals in my hometown here in Lake Charles, Louisiana, Calcasieu Parish School Board, where I'm the director of curriculum and instruction. And my duty and my responsibility is to transform the 14 low-performing schools, which we've been able to do in the past 3 years. And I'm excited to be here and learn from the brothers tonight.
Oh, we got some heavy hitters in the house. Thank you, sir. Very much appreciated. Principal Stewart, You got the floor, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I am excited to be in a room with so many awesome individuals. My name is Marquis Stewart. I'm from Pensacola, Florida. I am a graduate of the Alabama State University. I've been in education for 20 years, been a principal for 12 years, spent time in Alabama, Kansas City, Missouri, Detroit, Michigan, and currently now I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Been in Atlanta for the last 6 years. However, right now, at this current time, my school was closed about 2 years ago, so I'm currently serving as an assistant principal, but still growing at Frederick Douglass High School. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Again, sir, why did you have to say the? So you got to be from Alabama to understand what this Alabama A&M and this Alabama State thing is all about. But we're glad to have you as well. Principal Presley, sir, you have the floor. Unmute your mic.
All right, it's great to be here with all these wonderful, excited to hear and share tonight. I've been in education for about 25 years or so. I became the principal of my home school. I left there after 2 years, took over an alternative school, shut it down, created a new school, created an environment that caused 30 plus administrators from the Netherlands to fly to a little small town in Bushnell in Florida called Bushnell, Florida, to see what was popping. And we've been rolling ever since. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And last but not least, we got the man himself from upstate New York, Dr. Abraham.
First of all, I want to start off by saying, Doc, man, that introduction is dope, man. Did y'all see the key and all of that? Man, that was amazing. I was fascinated. Then I want to say thank you to everyone that is taking time and watching this. This is going to be a great conversation. I'm a former high school principal, was noted in New York State for having one of the highest graduation rates for Black males. I took a graduation rate at a high school, one of the largest high schools in the city of Buffalo, from 65% to 87%. And I'm proudest that we had a graduation rate of 93% for Black males with a cohort of about 87. So one of the largest in the country. I have a book coming out, What Success Looks Like, How to Increase Graduation Rates for Young Men of Color. And I go around the country right now as an educational consultant, working specifically with principals around the country on how to increase student performance, but primarily for Black and brown young men. So I'm excited to be here.
Wow. Wow. So Dr. Abraham, keep your mic unmuted. We're going to go ahead and just jump right in with you. Now, you said, so you turned around the school. You took the graduation rate from what, sir?
About 65%. It was looking at a receivership where the state was going to look at taking over the school to 87% in about 3.5 years. 3.5
years. Real quick, just give us some of the things you did to make that happen.
Right. So I think, what I tell principals right off the bat is you have to know your why. When you get an education, like it has to be personal to you. Second, you have to use data to drive all of your decisions. If you don't know the data of the school, if you don't know the 3-year trajectory of the school, you don't know where you've been, it's hard to know where you're going. Second, I think you have to set high realistic goals. And then if you're at a failing school, you have to change the narrative. If the school is looked upon as a failing school, it's incumbent on the leader to lead and to let people know that this school will be successful because you are the principal, the superintendent, or whatever. And we lay this out in the book, so it's going to be exciting. So if I give anybody, I give them 3 things to start off with.
Awesome. So one more question. How was your staff turnover? Did you turn over a lot of staff in the process?
Yeah, man, listen, not only did I had a lot of staff turnover, I got a vote of no confidence my first year. I was in the news so much, I thought I was running for politics. So I was in Channel 2, Channel 4, Channel 7, Buffalo News. I was in news every single day. And I always tell people, when you try to turn around a failing school, you will face adversity and you're going to face challenge. So people left and I invited them to the door. I said, if you don't like the direction I'm going in, no love lost, use any one of these 34 doors and, find someplace else that can stay sorry. I mean, don't want to move forward.
Right. Principal Presley, sir, I see you shaking your head. You want to chime in on that about getting put in a school that's failing? And go ahead, sir.
My first principalship was at my home school where I grew up at, and we were not a failing school, but we were in a situation where we had to combine two schools. We had to combine a middle school and a high school, and people were not happy. But in order to save jobs, that's just what our district had to do. After about 2 years of that combination, the principal walked into the office and to make a long story short, he assigned himself to a teacher's position on the campus. And I became the principal of that school. And I was the principal in the office, but he was still the principal in their ears. So I understand what Dr. Abraham was saying about taking over tough and difficult situations. So a lot of people left, and after 2 years, I left. And once we get into the conversation, explain a little bit more why I left.
Well, Principal Hurt, unmute your mic for a second, sir, because Dr. Abraham mentioned you got to know the data. I'm sure you, if anybody on this conversation, agree with that, sir. Why should you know your data? Mute your mic. Feedback right here.
Well, the reason why you should know your data is because every school is always going to be judged at the end of the year by their data, whether it's the state scores, district scores, or what type of report card grade. So for me and for any principal, I'm like, if we know that we're going to be judged by this, well, we got to know our data. We got to know our report card data. We got to know our attendance data. We got to know our state data in order for us as Black principals to justify why we're here. You know, it's the same thing with sports. You know, you have data to say, okay, they're the championship team or they're in first place. Well, let's bring that over to the educational world.
You muted, Doc.
Brother Boykins, you muted.
All right. Dr. Jackson, unmute the mic for me, sir.
Yes, sir.
How many schools do you oversee, sir?
Actually 14, and I've actually been a principal in some of the most challenging schools in Atlanta. I'm serving the same cluster as Mr. Stewart.
So share with us some of the techniques, sir, that you've seen to be effective as a principal in some of these rougher schools.
Well, I agree with both Dr. Abraham and Brother Sean Hurt that data drives everything. However, on my end, one of the things that's been most effective for me is that qualitative portion of the data. What I found, and I found out early, is that we've become a society that is so fixated on points and percentages that we forget that we're serving people, especially little people. Therefore, I've always went straight for the affective domain as opposed to operating directly from the cognitive. I operate from the people. And once I build the people up, I get the teachers excited about school. I get the students excited about school. I get the parents excited about sending their kids to school, and everything simply falls in line. So I go with the culture first, because culture eats strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you have a variety of strategies. You have, a variety of cultures. You have the culture, the type of demographics you're serving. What's the culture of the community? Fortunately for me, it has always been the hood. You're hearing gunshots outside of the school all throughout the day. You got the culture of the school within itself. You got the culture of the adults in the building, and you got the culture of the students that are within your school. So I've always operated from the culture and from the people first, and uplifting the people. I've always been able to take care of the data piece.
Wow, absolutely amazing. Brother Monty, sir, unmute your mic for me. This brother right here, actually, I've personally him and Principal Stewart. I've actually visited both of their schools, and Dr. Monty, you're at a new school now. You've been there how many years now?
It's my second year.
Second year. Did you lose any staff, sir?
No much. And to be honest, Craig, I mean, you know, I agree with what Dr. Mark was saying. When we came in, we knew that we need to address culture. And when you make students your priority, you make families your priority, and you make that your priority. Some people you find out not in the business for the same thing. They're not in the business about doing what's right about children and their families. So they have to find, you know, another place to work or another vocation. So we came in, man. That's our first thing we did, hit the ground, really trying to address culture, trying to build our students, our teachers, and our community. And that's been our journey so far.
Amazing. Also, I see every day that you guys, you have the students to share something with African American history. What were you doing with that? Tell us about that.
Well, one of the things that we wanted to do was make sure that our students understood the significance of Black history and the role that African Americans play in this country's success. So our committee got together and we talked about, well, we want to do a fact for the day. But not only do we want to do a fact, and for all my Alabama State and A&M folks, I am a graduate of the first historically Black college in the state of Alabama, Talladega College. So we wanted to celebrate HBCUs and talk to our students about that. We got, I went on a mission of asking people to donate shirts, HBCU shirts, and we got over 200 t-shirts donated. We gave them away to students and to faculty members. So every day we're talking about Black history and we're talking about HBCUs. We want our people to know those stories.
That's amazing. The last but not least, Brother Hogan, go ahead and unmute your mic, sir. How long have you been the principal at the current school you're at, sir?
The current school I'm at, I actually obtained that principalship. But prior to my principalship, I was the assistant principal for 2 years. So we're going into my third year, I was promoted to principal. And so I had an idea of what the staff and the dynamics were before coming into the position. As we mentioned before, Brother Dr. Jackson mentioned, one of the key things I focus on is just the community. Once you went over the community would take care of you. You know, just getting those parents behind you, getting that PTA, strengthening that PTA, making sure we're getting that membership up, and allow people to really take lead and take charge and share that leadership. And so I believe in my thing is empowering and trusting. You know, everybody are professionals. So when you arrive to the building, I need you to exert that specific talent. I can help you expound upon it, and I can also learn from you. So that's my key thing, just making everybody feel important.
All right, so I believe Principal Presley, you might be the elder in this conversation. So you don't look like it, but I believe that you might be the elder. Unmute your mic for me, sir. So how long have you been in education, brother?
25 plus years. I think I'm around 27, 28, but I'm not counting.
Man, I'm only 30, man. So you've been in there. I'm just playing. I'm almost my life. So, Principal, tell us why, in your opinion, do you think that there are only 11% of Black male principals in America? Just in your humble opinion, why do you think that is?
I think that we as Black principals have been graced to build. And in doing so and having that grace to build, a lot of times we're building outside of the box. We understand the structure of education. We understand the concepts of education, but a lot of times we've been given a vision that is a little bit different. So we're building people, as Dr. Jackson said, and whenever we build, we understand that there's 3 types of people that we lead. We lead builders, breakers, and blockers. Builders quickly are those people who understand leadership. They understand the roles that they play in that leadership, and they know how to pivot and adjust to when things aren't going well. They know how to play their role, so to speak. Breakers are those people who are graced to frustrate us in building. We have people who, when we say left, they hear right. If we say up, they hear down, because they're not assigned to our voice. And blockers are people who have been graced to frustrate us in building. And a lot of times we don't catch those 3 types of people until we're frustrated by the frustrators. So builders, breakers, and blockers, leaders, whoever are watching this broadcast, just understand that we have to spend more time with our builders, but don't get rid of your breakers and your blockers. You need them as well. You need them as well to help you to shift your leadership. They're there to teach you some things.
Absolutely amazing.
Brooks,
Go ahead.
Marcus, can I jump on this because you Principal Preston made a good point. A lot of times we look at, especially black males, when we get into education, we're either the disciplinarians or the gym teachers. So a lot of times for black males, we're not in those areas to understand content, to understand standards and things of that nature. So that consequently our window is just pretty much disciplinarian or being a gym teacher. And then on top of that, as African American principals, we need to be able to look at our staff and find 4 or 5 teachers that could eventually become principals in the near future. If we don't cater to that, if we don't give them autonomy within the school to step up and step up in these leadership positions, they won't understand being a principal. So when it's time to interview, they're not going to get the position because we as principals, we have not developed them. We haven't had a conversation with them about budget. We haven't talked about data, standardized tests, and things of that nature. So I think for me, those are the things that's limiting African American males and females to be principals.
Hey, Craig, let's jump in for a second. I was looking, one of the things, the question I think you were talking about was like why we have such small percentage of African American male principals. We only have about 2% African American male teachers. So what I do at my school is I go and I recruit. I look for people to try to bring into the profession. Before I got to my school, when I got to my school, there was only one black male teacher at my school. Now, mind you, my school has about 900 students, and about 55% of those students are black. But only one black male teacher was at the school when I got there. And if I'm correct, no, I may be wrong. There was no black male teachers at the school. I'm wrong. There were none. When I got there, I went on the journey and I started recruiting, and I still to this day, I mentor at the college, Talladega College, and I'm convincing people, hey, go get into education. Well, we have to address this salary issue, and we have to address the stigma of being an educator, the negative stigma of being an educator. But let's get to the salary issue. Paying people about $45,000 a year and raise a family is just, for most folks, it's difficult. That's difficult. But at any rate, I recruited, and right now at my school, we have 7 black male teachers on staff, along with my assistant principal, who's a black male. So I think we have to be intentional. Dr. Kafele talks a lot about that, being intentional in our hiring processes, looking for people and taking the opportunity, like Sean said, mentoring them, putting them in the best positions. And when I got those male teachers while at my school, I give them the business. They don't like it sometimes, but I talk to them like I talk to my family. I'm like, look, man, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do that. And so we have to keep doing it and to show them, hey, this is the possibility. I got one right now who's working at a college, who's now working with us, who's finishing up his doctorate now, getting ready to go into administration. So it's upon us, it's incumbent upon us to recruit and then to mentor. But not only that, we have to also be intentional about hiring black females. 7% of the teachers in the school are black in schools in America. So.
And I would also echo that same sentiments, Dr. Abner. When I got to Atlanta, I found my school that only had 3 males with 700 students. And so I came in a unique time of the school year. I came in January. And so I had an opportunity to just kind of look at the landscape. And so I was intentional that summer to make sure that I had males on every single grade level. And so by the end of my second year, every grade level had a minimum of 2 males. But again, that was my strategy to make sure that, and I always hear champion principal, he may be listening right now, but he always says, kids will be what they see. And I wanted to make sure that I put people in front of our children that they could see and look up to and be role models. And from that, we started a number of mentoring programs. That helped to curbside a lot of our discipline. But again, it's just like our homes. It starts with the male. And I want to make sure that I put our boys in front of some positive males.
So I think I agree with a lot of what these kings have said prior to, but I do want to just talk about systematic racism for a minute. We know that black males have the lowest graduation rates in the country. Prior to the COVID last year, black males were graduating nationally at 59%. So if we're only graduating at 59%, and then that smaller percentage actually gets to college, and then when they get to college, that system that's in the college is not conducive for us to be successful because we don't put the right support systems in college. Then if we finally make it to a educational setting where they say they can't find any black males because they're not looking hard enough, when you get into the school, then you find the school system attempting to demasculate the black man and try to make them fit into a mold. So either you're going to be a disciplinarian or a coach or a janitor or something like that. And then if you finally make it through all that nonsense, then they try to give you the worst schools available in the district and set you up for failure. So I really want to just say that we really have to look at systematic racism when we talk about why we don't see an abundance of black men in the educational field and in leadership. We're not, they don't favor us too much when we get there.
Wow.
Brother Craig, if I can jump in real quickly.
Yes, sir.
Couple things, two things. Are you all cognizant of the College of Education program and the requirements to even get into a College of Education program? The average grade point average is a 3.2, and you have to have a 22 on the ACT. That's the average. That means I'm not an educator at all. I was one of the first victims of Proposition 48. So I would never have been able to become an education, period. Yes, we have to step our game up with our GPA. Yes, we have to step our game up with our these bias tests that we actually have to take in those requirements. But it's so tough to get into the College of Education itself. Secondly, it's just not a sexy profession at all. Would you prefer to be Dr. Jackson or Young Jeezy? Would you prefer to be Dr. Jackson or LeBron? So our boys, our males, are always fixated in the high profile. Let's make the money. Let's get the girls, as opposed to the cause. My kids see me walk around high school and middle school, and they say, man, I didn't know you can be smooth and smart at the same time. And then they ask me what kind of car I drive. I said a 2016 Nissan Frontier, and then they're turned off. I say, well, let me show you my bank account statement. And of course, then they turned on again. So there's a lot of different variables in regards to why men are not involved in education at all. And that wasn't my route at all. The profession chose me. I didn't choose the profession.
And you're absolutely right. When I think about what influenced me, I wasn't going into education. I wanted to go into the military, honestly, to get a car and just be able to take care of myself. But I was motivated personally by my high school basketball coach, Benny Washington. He was an educator, and I just saw the impact that he was making on students. And I'm like, on black males at that, he was, helping us a lot. And I'm like, this is all right. And so I shifted from, going for a career in the military to the field of education. It's just the rest has been kind of history, but that's what kind of motivated me. Just another black male to help, catapult me into this field. And I've enjoyed it ever since.
Mine is, I'm actually on the elementary level intentionally. I've served on all three levels, the middle school, high school, as well as the elementary, but I find elementary to be most productive. My mentor as a young fellow was Mr. George Alexander. He's deceased now, but he was one of the most authentic elementary school principals that I've ever come in contact with. Of course, growing up with him, he of course transitioned from the elementary level to the high school level. But I always knew at a young age I wanted to be just like Mr. George Alexander. And so my intentionality was to go into the elementary feed simply so I could catch those individuals, what I call the root. I consider the elementary level as our foundation of building that house. And so the reason why I'm on that now is to catch those individuals while they're young. So by the time they make it to junior high school and high school, they've already have embedded in their mind that education is an option. And this is something that I would like to go in and follow the steps of Mr. Dixon as a mentor.
Absolutely amazing, you guys. And I'm gonna say this real quick because I'm the only one here that's never been a principal. But as I was telling you guys before the show started, I never had a black principal ever. Like ever. And I only had 2 black male teachers, and I hated both of them because they were challenging me. They were giving me tough love, is what Judge Mathis calls it. But I didn't have a dad, and so all of us are black men. And if you didn't have a dad, you automatically have a power struggle with any black male in your life that's an authoritative figure. Because I'm trying to show him, bro, you ain't my daddy. You ain't gonna break me. I know you trying to break me. I ain't gonna let you break me. And so I think what happened with me was I developed a hatred as early as the 5th grade for education, for teachers, for principals. And so the thought of becoming one wasn't even nowhere in my psyche. because I was trying to look for the fastest exit out of here. Like as soon as you give me any little room, I'm getting the hell out of education. Dropping out, I'm leaving. And I think with a lot of black boys, that becomes the case at an early age. They become burnt out, they become frustrated, and they don't want to. Because I've talked to them. I've talked to third graders that tell me, Mr. Boykin, I hate school. Like I'm like, you in the third grade, but as early as third grade, they already burnt out. So I want to transition, Doctor. I'll get back to you, Doctor. But I do want to transition. I know, Dr. Jackson, you had shared a story some years ago. I want each of you to take a few seconds and share with us your worst day as a principal and your best day. Like I know, Dr. Jackson, you were telling us about a story one time about a guy that you had took him somewhere and did something. But give us two stories. One of the worst days you've had as a principal and one of the best days you've ever had. We'll start with you, Dr. Jackson.
Well, with me, one of the worst days I've actually had was a death of my teacher. I had a specific routine, and if we all recall as principals, you're sort of setting your morning routines where you go to duty, you walk down this hall, you check in the cafeteria, you guiding folks. And I had a specific routine that I would travel every morning. And one of my teachers died suddenly, which this is happening a lot now with COVID. And that really, it took me a minute to actually get over that because she was on that pathway, an older Caucasian teacher who was in love with Bobby Brown. So she was blasting it as the kids were coming into her classroom. And I didn't hear Bobby Brown after she passed away. And she was sitting in front of her stool every day. And so that was one of my worst days. Oh, man. And my best day as a principal was, man, every day. And Brother Boykins, you actually mentioned the stories I used to post. Man, I used to post them all the time. People knew Dr. Jackson. People knew my school. But before any press release of test scores, everybody knew all the great things that was actually going on in my school. But most importantly, my senior, when I was a principal at the high school level, we had 8 functioning gangs. We had at least 3 or 4 fights every time the bell rung. And I was able to transform that school. And 100% of my students, my seniors, actually went to college, or the military, or trade school. That was the only option. So I sent all those members in those 8 gangs. They went to college, to military, or trade school. So those are some of my highlights as a principal.
Well, salute to you, brother. Dr. Monty, sir, tell us about one of your worst days you had as a principal, sir, and one of the best days you've had.
Well, one of my worst days, like Mark, surrounds itself around the death. I had a first grade student who, around about Christmas holidays, maybe not 8 years ago, lost his mom, and that was it was hard. This kid was just celebrating the holidays and lost his mom, and having to watch him go through that, and then watch them go through the battle of who's going to have custody. So that was difficult. But probably, and I have so many, like Mark said, so many wonderful experiences. This past year, this young man, a few months ago, this same young man who haven't seen in about 8 years, emailed me, found me, and emailed me at my school email to tell me that he was doing well, that he is on the tennis team at school. He has great grades. He still loves the Lord and all those things. So getting emails like that, and I get them often from people or from former students telling me that what they're doing with their lives, they always make my days great. So it's just one of them.
For me, I think my worst day, just like with everybody else, is that whenever you have a kid that you hear that has died, man, that really touches my heart. It's like, oh my God, because you just see that kid in your mind. You remember the things that he or she used to do. And I think I had like 3 or 4 deaths as a principal, as a teacher over my 20 years as a educator. I think the best day is when I can celebrate academic achievement whenever my school does really good on our state test. The reason for that is because I have all of my kids are Black and they're from the inner city. And for me to look at these 400, 500 kids and say, you know what? Black kids can learn just as good as other kids and other races. And we have the data to show it. That's when I get happy. I get excited. And I know that, that if these kids can learn, everybody else can learn. So.
I think one of the worst days for me is when I actually had to go to a funeral of one of my young men that got killed violently, and just having to hug his mom and see his newborn baby and the girlfriend at the casket. That's probably one of the worst days for me as a high school principal, because my whole passion has been, I'm going to do everything possible to make sure Black and brown young men graduate from high school so that doesn't happen. And that pain, I carry that pain in everything that I do when I do the work that I do, and I help people around the country. I guess one of the best days is when I got the data to say all of the strategies I put in place, all of the research, everything that we worked hard for actually came into fruition, and it manifested itself in 93% graduation rates for Black males. So worst day is losing one of my boys that we didn't know what to do. He was getting suspended often, caused himself to get into trouble. And the best day is actually seeing our Black men graduate and be gainfully employed and go to college.
All right. And for me, I think one of the worst days for me was just a year ago. A young man who had been one of my students since he entered 6th grade, and ended up getting hit by a car coming to school, and actually going to the hospital and actually seeing him lying there, in the hospital, deceased. That was by far one of the worst days of my professional career. On a much better note, while serving as principal in Detroit, Michigan at Brenda Scott Academy, which was a school when it opened, had been on Michigan's persistently lowest achieving list. And we were able to take that school, my staff and I were able to take that school, and within the 2 years, we got a call that summer and said our school had been removed from Michigan's persistence lowest achieving list. So that was something we were very, very excited about. Probably one of the proudest moments of my careers.
My worst day was like everybody else. The last 2 years, I literally buried two of our male students, Black male boys who passed away. One was shot, murdered. The other one in a car accident. And you never forget those moments. You always look back and you ask yourself, what could you have done differently to save those kids? My best day is every Friday at my school. We celebrate and recognize students for positive behaviors. We pride ourselves in doing so 3 times as much as we do write-ups every week. So every Friday we get to celebrate students who showed or demonstrated any form of positive behaviors. We don't do write-ups on my campus. We do celebrations.
Principal Hovey, hold on 1 second. I'm gonna let you share yours, but I want to stay right there for a second, Principal, because you said every Friday we make it our business.
Every Friday
to celebrate the kids. Okay, so during my professional developments, I have a thing that I share with educators. You got to keep that same energy. And what do I mean by that? Because the young kids, they say that you got to keep the same energy. And so what I mean by that is, I tell educators the same energy that you use when you blasting me out in the school when I'm wrong, when I'm stabbed, when I'm not, when I'm supposed to.
Yes.
You're on 10
Yes.
or 100.
Yes.
But when I do what I'm supposed to do,
Yes.
you quiet as a mouse. Can't
We have-
nobody. You don't say nothing. So
We
the
have-
same energy you blasting me out with,
Yes.
you got to blast me out when I'm right. And
We
so
have a 3-to-1 ratio. We have a 3-to-1 ratio. The 3-to-1 ratio is we celebrate 3 times as much as we do for every negative write-up weekly. There's a system we built 8 years ago, and every week for 8 years, we have celebrated. Our bus drivers get these 3 green cards. Our staff get 3 green cards. Our teachers get 3 green cards, and we celebrate 3 times as much as we do for write-ups. We don't do write-ups. We took the rules out of the school. We don't have 1 rule in our school and replaced them with 5 laws and said that we are going to celebrate students 3 times as much as we do for write-ups. Not only that, Dr. Boykin, we call parents 3 times as much weekly for positive write-ups than we do for negative write-ups. And every week, everybody knows I better get them 3 green cards.
I love it, man. I love it. Kudos. That's what I'm talking about. Principal Hovey, right quick, sir. Best day, worst day. We're going to move to another question.
All right, worst day of my principalship occurred in my first principalship about 7 years ago when we had the district security guard walk in and give me an envelope give me an envelope that suggested that my services in the principal position was no longer needed without explanation. That was the worst day of my life. And from that point on, I tried to seek answers. And when I didn't get answers, I had to kind of shift to a different mode. And that mode was to go back into the classroom and become the best teacher I could be within that 1 year, as I planned to get back into the principalship. And so I'm with the same district, and I'm back now in my second term of principalship. And so within that, as we got there, we put together an awesome team. And within the last year, the best year, I would say year of my life was last year. As a team, we secured our national recognition for our PTA. We secured the Alabama Outstanding Principalship Administrator of the Year Award, as well as from the State Attorney General's Office, the Safe Schools Award. And so those are the things that we can say, from hitting rock bottom to crawling back to the top, doing it in silence and not crying about those losses, and just building from there with worn out tools.
Did you ever find out why they let you go?
Well, I've always been a risk taker. So one of my key things is always equity. I'm going to drive around the district and see what one school have versus the other. And so if I'm in that school that has very little resources and my school doesn't look like this particular school, I want to know why. So if I got a theater on one side of town at elementary level, I want to know why it's not a theater in my school, because I got some aspiring actors as well. And so I'm going to voice it. And I think I was just a little bit too boisterous in voicing my opinion in that.
So we got you. All right. So
Mr. Hawkins,
yes, sir.
real quickly, give me 30 seconds, because I saw a common theme here and I want to hit it. Just about every brother on here mentioned one of their worst days. The principalship is death. Death was the common theme. However, I got a question for my brothers and a challenge out there to you. Our schools are hospitals, and our children are in intensive care. They're intensive care in regards to motivation, inspiration, elevation, reading ability, their ability to comprehend, their ability to decode, their ability to analyze. They're intensive care. So what are we going to do to ensure that we don't attend any more funerals from an educational perspective, because our kids are dying?
Wow, amazing. And you're absolutely correct. So let me ask you this, guy. In the face of COVID-19, there's a lot of burnout. A lot of teachers gonna leave education when this school year is up, and they never coming back. Like they done with it. They fed up with it. How do you keep your staff motivated, inspired, with eyes on the prize? They, keep them wanting to get on that computer if they're virtual and turn it on and teach, even though the students aren't showing up. And we'll start with you, Principal Presley, because you are the elder, sir. Go ahead. You got the floor.
I think that the principal's voice has more power to it than a lot of people realize. Every morning during our morning announcements, it's a shout out. You already know what it is. It's Principal Presley here, and it's Fabulous Friday. It's time for us to turn up at Sumter Prep Academy. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Hey, I bring that energy every morning, Dr. Boykin, every morning.
First thing I have to say is, sometimes we say burnt out, but you have to be on fire before you can ever be burnt out. Second thing, I think we have to keep people focused on goals and focus on the agenda at hand. So high energy, but keep a focus on the task at hand, and don't let anybody get distracted by the white noise.
I think for me, it's two things. I'm always doing wellness checks on my teachers, asking them how they're doing. And then the other thing is that, just being flexible, understanding what COVID is. So maybe before COVID, I was this way, but now I'm flexible. And the third thing is that I love my staff. So I always tell them, hey, I love everybody. I just thank you for what you're doing, and let's keep up the good work.
One of the things we try to do is continue to motivate our teachers. We do morning announcement shout outs. We do buzz awards with Yellow Jackets. So we do buzz awards for teachers. We do we send cards home for students on a weekly basis. We send cards home to teachers. We do random acts of kindness. Our whole staff does, and our district does E-Day twice a month, so that teachers don't necessarily have to teach online. They spend those 2 days winding down. And we just keep being flexible. We create opportunities to celebrate teachers every chance we can.
And I think it's also important, just even in our worst of days with COVID and the things that our teachers are dealing with outside of school, it's always good to encourage them to keep them uplifted at all times, even when they may not have had a great day. It's always good to go back and say, give them a high five, from a distance, but always just keep them encouraged.
On my end, as I always indicated, I always operate from the effective domain first. So 3 years ago, when I actually first took this position, I did something that was pretty radical. Yes, we heard of social emotional learning for the students, but in Atlanta, I had social emotional program and mental wellness program for my teachers. So now that I'm in a position and I'm supporting principals, who are providing the mental wellness for the principals? I am, and I did that 3 years ago. I fed my principals. I taught them how to handle their stress and strategies to be in fine tune with themselves mentally. Unbeknownst to me, COVID came up, and not only that, we were devastated by 2 hurricanes. We didn't start school until November, the middle of October, November here in Louisiana, but we're thriving. And we just received our second 9 weeks report, and we only have a 6% failure rate. That's directly come from taking care of the principals, who have to take care of the teachers, who have to take care of the students, who have to deal with the parents. So that mental health piece for the principals, the teachers, and the students, all of those are extremely important. Oh, and we have a 94% attendance rate as well.
All right, my thing is always making sure we tend to the human factor. Ironically, I heard someone mention wellness check. We just finished a week, this past week of wellness checks. We do one-to-ones, and on one-to-ones is myself and individual teachers and staff. And I do include staff in that as well. Just basically finding out what has it done for them as a human being going through this pandemic. We also suffer from a ransomware attack. So we were dealing with 2 elements in one this past year. And so my thing is just always keep that ongoing transparency going, let them know that as the principal, as their leader, I'm human as well. So I understand. So I talk to them from a humanistic standpoint and putting that first.
All right. I love it. The comments over here, I don't know if y'all read these comments, but man, they loving this. So now we got to pay homage to Principal Kafele, the guru, the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody on here know Principal Kafele. I want you real quick, because Principal Kafele, pretty much everybody on here, mentor, role model, we look up to him, we reach out to him. Give me something that you got for Principal Kafele that make your job a little bit easier. We're going to start with you, Dr. Monty. Give us something that Principal Kafele gave you, brother.
Be intentional about what they see. And for me, that's not just about the people who stand in front of them. It's about, being intentional about the lessons we prepare, being intentional about what the school looks like, being intentional about how we appear in front of students, our countenance, our well-being, how we take care of ourselves, and being intentional about the people we hire in our buildings. So one thing he said was be intentional about what they see. And I just take that with me every day.
One thing that Principal Kafele always told me, man, be the best principal in the world, man. Always think about those kids first. And not only as a principal, but on the other side of it, as a consultant, he has given me so much wisdom. So I love him. That's my mentor. And in Black Educators Rock, I got the first award, the Principal Kafele Award. So I got to brag about it.
Hey, believe it or not, I'm going to just keep it 100. When he calls me brother, when he says brother, it does something inside of me. It just makes me feel like I got somebody out there that if I hit a rock, that I can pick up that phone or I can get in his inbox and I can say, hey, man, I need to holler at you. I just feel like he'll pick up and at least listen to me. And a lot of times as Black men that are leading as principals, we're alone. You talk about 11%, it's alone. So moments like these, to just shout out to Principal Kafele just for being a brother.
I got a chance to hear Principal Kafele probably back in 2011 at ASCD conference, and he was telling this story about how he was able to transform the young men in his building by starting a program called Power Monday. I then took that back. I hate to say it, Principal Kafele, I stole that and took that back with me to Detroit, and we utilized that to help turn around our school. I also brought it down to Atlanta as well. So every time I sit and listen to him, I learn a lot that I'm able to take back and bring back to my building.
Me personally, I met Principal Kafele when I was a middle school principal, a school where I took the school from a 1-star school to a 5-star school in 2 years. My assistant principals went to a conference and they say, hey, you got to check this brother out. I connected with him on social media and we've been connected ever since. Matter of fact, when I moved from middle school to high school, I was literally terrified because I went to Carver High, which Eastside High and Lean On Me had nothing on. And the brother gave me the Principal 50 about a year before it was even out. But he trusted me with it, and I actually followed this particular pattern. But most importantly, he taught me to be courageous. I was already crazy, but I was crazier when I actually met him, specifically in regards to doing what's right for kids. And you can ask Mr. Stewart, when we would get together at our principals meeting in Atlanta, they used to be like, man, dude, are you doing that? I was like, yes. But then when I got the results, I was always asked by the higher ups, how did you move to school like that? I say, I did what you all told me not to do. And not too many people have the courage to do what's right for children, specifically in this leadership position.
Well, for me, it's real simple. I think I mentioned the worst day of my life as a principal. And when you go through something like that, people leave you out on an island. You become the plague. They rid themselves of you. They try not to be seen with you. They don't want to associate with you because they don't want that same stigma. You just been demoted as a principal, and I had nowhere to turn. And I remember picking that brother up from a hotel room one night as he was doing some PD here in the area. And we went to eat at a seafood place. And as I talked about that situation, he continued to eat, and he listened intentionally. And when he listened to me about 30 minutes, go on, and he finally stopped. And he said, when I stopped, he said, so now what are you going to do about it? Are you going to live there, or are you going to be an action figure? And so he taught me from that very moment to stop talking about my loss and to get about my business as being an action figure. So I've learned to be intentional in my stride as well as being that action figure.
And if I could say this too, Mr. Dixon, just sitting here listening to you tonight has inspired me because Dr. Jackson knows I've been at my school in Atlanta for about a year and a half, and a year and a half later I found out the school's gonna close. And so I went through a situation like, wow, I just got down, I've been here a year and a half. And so school closing, fast forward 2 years later, I'm serving as assistant principal. I'm like, really, I've done all this work before, but you've inspired me, brother. So I just want to say thank you.
Man, that's amazing. That's amazing.
I got to say something to that too, Dr. Boykin, to Brother Dixon. I've been there. That leaving the school thing and people talking. I'm from a small area, so everybody know everything. So I appreciate you for sharing that, and I appreciate you for coming back. Straight up.
Yes, sir. Making Black history. And the reason I brought up Principal Kafele, because I know all of us, we all kind of in the same network. We know Principal. I believe in giving people their roses above the ground. You understand what I'm saying? Because this man has been an inspiration to each one of us. I'm talking about when I first started speaking, this man was on the front of the cover of the program. He had a room full of about 1,000 people, and he stopped in the middle of his presentation and said, "Is that Craig Boykin back there?" He was like, "Man, that's a bad brother. Y'all need to go see him after my session." And I'm like really? Like, that's like Obama stopping in the middle of an address to call you out in the back of the room. Like, I've never met anyone in my life like this man. Like, he's bigger than life, but his heart is so real. And so that's why we took the time to pay homage to the elder who is really paving the way. This man had a heart attack on stage and finished his doggone speech and then went to the hospital. Like, that's crazy. Like, thank you, Principal Kafele, for all you do. Okay, you know what? We're coming up on an hour, you guys. Real quick, somewhere in America, there is a Black male teacher who wants to become you guys. He want to be a principal, but he's stagnant. He's stuck. He don't know. He feel like everything is against him. Real quick, we're going to start with you, Dr. Abraham. Share with that brother what he needs to do to become where you guys are now.
It's a great question. I think the number one thing you have to do if you're stagnant is really, I say it often, you really have to start thinking about, start visioning and dreaming about where you want to go, because everything starts with a dream. I don't care where you are. So you got to have a vision, understand your why, and then every single day start to make practical steps to get you there. Tag in, get with Principal Kafele, get with all these different brothers that are there, and really just listen to their story and listen to their journey, because connectivity is so important. You grow when you're around people that's where you want to be. So if you want to know where you're going, look at your friends and look at your circle. So start changing your circle around and start being connected to the people of where you want to go. And let me say this. Let me say this real quick, because you ain't, hey, Dr. Boykin, you ain't get me for Principal Kafele. And I'll say this real quick. Principal Kafele,
go ahead.
I saw him speak in Buffalo, New York, and honest to God, he was the reason why I became a principal. He was so passionate and so inspiring. And 2 years ago, I was speaking at Southern Regional Educational Board, and he came into my session. He don't know me. He probably still don't know me. And I said, Principal Kafele, that's you, brother. So I'm a fan of Principal Kafele, and I just love the work you're doing.
What I would give to an individual who's stagnant, I hear it all the time. And speaking of Principal Kafele, one of the things he always would say was, surround yourself with individuals who have like ideas. And so as I look at this cipher here, and everybody can speak so passionately about him, one thing I do know about him, that you're not going to be able to be in his presence unless you're about the business of making a difference in kids and adults' lives. And so he don't deal with anything different. And that's what I've learned to do, the things that I want to be. I've surrounded myself around good administrators. And so I advise that aspiring administrator to do the exact same. If it's not working for you, then find you another circle, find you another path, and reroute your hustle.
Dr. Jackson, you up, sir?
Yes, on my end, find your mentor. Find your mentor, somebody who has done the work, and listen. And listen with your emotions turned off. Listen with your voice actually turned off. When I actually took this position, I met a young brother here in Lake Charles, Louisiana, by the name of Ronnie Harvey, who actually took over the principalship at my alma mater, my high school, Washington Marion High School. And he's transformed that school from a D school to a B school. Now that they're a B school, enrollment is up about 300 students. Everybody's coming back to the school now. But he listened. Just about every time he had a chance to be around me, he listened, and he never said anything. And I would always ask him, hey, man, you're not saying anything. He said, I'm listening. I'm absorbing everything you said. And he went back and he implemented many of that. He had all Principal Kafele books. He had an opportunity to meet Kafele there. So most importantly, listen and find you a mentor.
And I think everyone has mentioned what I would say is find that circle, find that mentor that's going to help guide you in the right way. Learn all that you can, pick their brains, ask the right questions, ask questions over and over again. And once you get that information, and but feel free to share that with someone else. But also, again, look at finding that correct circle to be around to help get you where you want to be. I could be of service. I'm here to help anybody. And so I think all my colleagues here are the same way. So find your great mentor and stay with them.
I'm gonna just stay in that vein, because I think the biggest asset looking back is mentorship. Find someone who's done it, get under them, listen to them, like Dr. Jackson said, without your emotions. Allow them to share that knowledge with you. When I get off of this broadcast, I'm going to send every one of these brothers who I'm not friends with on social media a friend request, and I'm going to be stealing from them and using all of the knowledge I can get from them, because you don't have to be alone. Find your mentor.
The same thing everybody said, find your mentor, but I'm gonna just go ahead and say this. Inbox any of us on this podcast, all 8 of us. Don't even gotta worry about who to look for. Get all 8 of us, inbox us, and we'll be able to share with you, walk you through it. So, hey, you got 8 mentors here now. Let's go with it.
I say number one, if you're stagnant, find out why you're stuck. Figure out why you are where you are. If it's the environment you're in, if it's your own mentality, the way you're thinking about the job that you have, is it a burnout where you are? John Maxwell says that evaluate your lead. It's the law of the lead. He says that maybe perhaps the leadership you're under is not taking you to another level. So find you that mentor or the other place to work. But then number 3, I would say, what I said to my students when I was teaching, I used to say, who you are now must have an encounter with who you are destined to become. In other words, if you're hoping to become a principal, start making decisions that will point you in the direction of becoming a principal. Become now what you want to become later.
And I'm gonna stay with you, Dr. Monty. I'm gonna run the questions back by you guys. What would you say to that teacher who has already made up in her mind that this young black man, this young black male that's sitting in her classroom, she's already given up on? She's already just wrote him off. I don't want to deal with him. I'm gonna just send him out the classroom. Like, I ain't got time. I've seen this kind before. What would you say to that educator, that teacher?
Well, 2 or 3 things. One, I would ask that teacher, you know, how would she approach this if this were her child? Number 1. Number 2, I would try to get the teacher some professional development. But number 3, I would try to see, can I get them to work at somebody else's school?
Principal Hurt, what would you tell that educator that gave up on that young black male?
I think I have to get her out of my school, because I don't got time to be playing with folks. You know, you only got one life. You're not going to mess up this boy. So, hey, we're going to have that conversation. Maybe this is not the school for you. Let's go ahead and transfer you out to another school.
You know, I agree with my brothers who said that also, but I'll talk to that teacher and say, listen, I'm a 1.4 GPA in college. I was illiterate coming out of high school. I'm a doctor right now, and it happened because I had teachers that believed in me. So change your paradigm, because your belief can change the posterity for that young man of color that you have in front of you, and we need you to do that. His life is counting on you to do that. So I'm pleading to do that for him.
I believe in conversation. So yeah, we would have a conversation with that teacher, a very candid conversation with that teacher. And it would be a safe place for that teacher to tell me just how she in this case feels. And then we go from there. But yeah, we got to have a conversation.
I agree. That's a one-on-one conversation, and I want to understand what that teacher's why is. If your why does not match the why of the school, then why are you here? And so we have to make a decision based upon that. But my ultimate goal is to try to help them and coach them along. But in the end, if it does not work out, then the bus pulls up outside. You got to get on, because I need people here who are concerned about kids.
I would acknowledge the reason she's feeling, or he's feeling, the way that they're feeling. That's very important. But then we'll actually sit down and engage in some dialogue in regards to why. Now, first of all, you must remember, school is a place for boys to fail. You have to realize that. Let me repeat that again. School is a place for boys, especially black boys, to fail. We require a specific skill set to deal with us. You got rules everywhere. You break any of those rules, including knowing the answer and yelling out in class, that'll get you sent to the office. You can't talk in the hall. You learn all those vocabulary words. You learn to diagram all those sentences. Oh, I'm telling my age with the diagramming of sentences. But you learn all that information in class, and you get in hallway and you like to use some of those vocabulary words, but you can't talk. So therefore, you have to give teachers strategies and specific things to do to cater to boys and to attract black boys to be engaged in the learning process. And if you haven't done that, not the instructional coach, not the professional development, not a YouTube video, but if you haven't done that and you haven't provided that teacher with that skill set and that knowledge, you can never hold that teacher accountable for that. And many teachers don't even know how to do that, because our educational system is not set up for us, and especially the black male. And I just took that to a black male when you said boys, because that's usually who it is. It's usually a black boy. Oh, y'all! You got me excited with that one. I don't know if I'm excited or angry or upset or what.
We can appreciate that, Dr. Jackson. I say most definitely the cultural responsibility piece is a very, very fragile and important piece. It's basically making sure that teacher understand what the overall goal and vision and mission is of the school and why they show up to the school every day. There are stats to show one thing, but there's the reality of being there hand in hand and face to face and in the trenches with those elements that those kids arrive to school with every day. And so what I always do is hold that cultural responsiveness piece to a high degree, because you have to be in tune with every entity of that building when it comes to our number one stakeholder, which are our students.
Well, an absolute amazing night. Real quick, this is an opportunity for you guys to sell yourself. Let us know if you do any consulting work on the side. Let us know if you have any books, you got any projects coming up. Tell us your website, how to follow you on social media. Dr. Monty, go ahead, sir. Let us know how to find you.
Well, you can find me on all social media outlets at Monty B. Abner, MONTEB, Don't have a book published yet, but I am working on one called And He Has Given Some to Be. It talks about everybody not being prophet, pastors, evangelists, or teachers. Some folks' area of expertise could just be in plumbing.
Man, listen, well, we ain't finna get into that monster right there. Now you finna make some people mad talking about everybody ain't called, because everybody called to preach. They want that collar on, sir. Principal Hurt, let us know where to find you. If you got any resources, any books, anything.
All on social media pages. Also, if you're a school that's looking to raise student achievement and increase student achievement, just inbox me. I will come and do work. Also, I have a book, How to Transform Your Inner City School and Raise Student Achievement. You could pick that up on my website. That's shurtschoolturnaroundspecialist.com. shurtschoolturnaroundspecialist.com.
Dr. Abraham.
Yep, thank you. You can find me on any social media site, Dr.Marck _ Abraham for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I have a book coming out, What Success Looks Like, Strategies to Increase Graduation Rates for Young Men of Color. This book is for superintendents and principals around the country. These are giving principals practical strategies to increase graduation rates for young men of color. There should be no more failing schools. And if you follow the recipe, follow the secret sauce, I promise you'll have increased student achievement. And if you need help, do not hesitate to inbox me, email me, call me. I'm here for you any time of the week.
Principal Presley?
Yes, like everybody else, I'm on social media at Principal Presley on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can email me. We can have a conversation. If you're interested in concepts of PBIS and positive school culture and recognition, celebrations, how to flip schools, contact me. I'll be happy to speak with you.
And you do consulting also, right? You come to schools?
Yes, I do I come to schools. I got a few schools that I mentor around our area in the region and in the state of Florida. So, yes.
Principal Stewart?
Yes, sir. You can find me on Facebook, LaQuinn Stewart. You can find me on Twitter at mstewarts, MSTEWAR_2U. Recently started a consulting company, but the pandemic slowed me down. So you will hear Finish Strong innovations coming to you to a school near very soon. Social media, you can find me on Instagram at that78boy, and I'm telling my age, that78boy.
Dr. Jackson?
10 Daily Essentials for Principal, which is the top seller on Amazon. The 10 Daily Essentials for Assistant Principals will be actually coming out next month. I'm also doing one for teachers, students, and parents. I can be reached at my website at www.marcusjackson.com, and of course on all social media outlets. And matter of fact, I just put my email in the chat box. So definitely reach out to me. I'm in the business of helping brothers, and as Sean Hurt actually stated, contact me for free. This information I'm giving to you will be free. You have a problem and an issue with your school, inbox me, contact me. I will share everything with you for free. Brother Kafele poured all that knowledge in me. I'm going around the country sharing this knowledge, but he gave it to me for free. So I want to do the same for you.
Brother Hovitt?
All right, thank you again, Brother Craig, for this. But I'm out on social media. Facebook is where you can find me. I'm actually kind of exhausted by having these type of ciphers, and then when they ask, do you have a book to share? I don't have anything to share in that regard, but I am diligently working on a masterpiece, and this memoir definitely will be a game changer once we finalize, and we're looking forward to doing that by the end of the summer. And so I want to again say, anybody who's out there aspiring to be an administrator, I'm in Huntsville, Alabama. Stop at your nearest barbershop, your nearest soul food restaurant, and ask for Hovette Dixon or Mr. Dixon, and they'll guide you to my whereabouts. Again, thank you, Brother Craig.
And so from the bottom of my heart, you guys, I say thank all of you. I'm your host. My name is Craig Boykin. Listen, if you Google GED to PhD, all type of stuff coming up. My website, pictures, books, that's kind of my platform. High school dropout, bachelor's degree, 2 master's degrees, finishing up my PhD. I've written 6 books. I'm in the process of writing 2 books right now as we speak. One of my books that I'm working on now is called Punishing Trauma, because what I think is happening in the education system is we punishing kids who are dealing with trauma, and then they go to the juvenile justice system, they get punished. They go to the criminal justice system, they get punished. And so a lot of times teachers and educators and principals, they mistake drama and when really it's trauma that's undealt with. And so I'm working on that book, and I got a book I'm working on called Curbing Teacher Burnout, because again, as I said, so many teachers after this COVID thing, they walking away, and I'm trying to find a way to salvage some of them and keep them, because we need educators, because we in a stressful situation. And so my website is craigboykin.com. My Twitter handle is GED to PhD. My Instagram handle is GED to PhD, and my Facebook is craigboykin.com. And you can follow me on my YouTube. We have these candid conversations every Saturday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Next week, I got a young man who, when he was born, he wasn't named Charles Lee, and he's doing great work in Montgomery, Alabama. He wasn't even given a name. He didn't even have, that's the name of his book, The Boy That Was Born Without a Name. And now he went to prison and he got out. Now he has one of the top nonprofits in the city of Montgomery, Alabama, helping these Black kids understand that they are great. They're able to do anything they put their mind to. And so make sure you join us next week for that. Again, I want to thank each one of you brothers. All of you have a special place in my heart. I know you guys from years of being on social media. I wish you guys the best. If you ever need my services, I've already spoken to some of you guys, just let me know and I will be there. With that being said, everyone, I pray that you guys continue to have a safe weekend, and